The journal arrived, wrapped in burial cloth. No address, no sender. Only my name etched into the brittle tag like a warning. The fabric was yellowed, crusted at the edges with something darker than time. The smell wafted from it, dry and stale, like the inside of a sealed tomb. I found it on the stoop just before dusk, where the fog had begun to spill low and thick over the hills. I should have left it there. Should have kicked it back into the mist and bolted the door. But I didn't. The cover was cracked leather, stiff as bark. Inside were pages of slanted handwriting, ink that bled into the fibers like roots into earth. No title, no date. Just a single entry. It scrawled across the top margin of the first page. He watches where the ground is broken. It began with the sound of wind that wasn't wind. A sort of low whistling, like air drawn slowly between wooden teeth. I heard it first near the edge of town, where the soil had been stripped bare for the new development. A string of low homes promised to the city's swelling shadow. I walked those fields once, boots squelching in the rich loam, eyes stinging from the dust that danced in lazy swirls. The machines were still, their engines quiet. Even the birds, which once shrieked and scattered from the tilled rows, had vanished. What remained was silence, pressed so deep it rang in the skull like a warning bell. And beneath it, just faintly, came that whistle. Later, I'd tell myself I imagined it, that the wind moved oddly through rusted backhoes or tangled rebar. That my mind, primed by that cursed journal, had already begun its descent. But it began before the pages, before the cloth. It all started with that mound. A single rise in the earth behind the construction office. Not large, perhaps 2 feet tall, and as wide as a man lying down. The workers called it a spoil heap. Nothing more than displaced dirt. But it never changed shape, not once. Rain didn't flatten it. Wind didn't shift it. The rest of the site buckled and warped with weather, but the mound remained. A patient blemish. One foreman joked it looked like someone buried a man upright. That man, Hal Bricker, quit the next day. No warning. Left his tools in the trailer, his coffee still steaming in the cup. When they finally got a hold of him, all he said was, "Don't dig there. You dig there, he opens his eyes." They thought he'd had a break. Maybe he had. But then the tracks started. Not footprints, too imprecise. More like smears. Wide, flat grooves, as though something immense had dragged itself forward on its belly. No weight behind them either. Grass didn't break, stones weren't displaced. But the paths wound, meandering through the site like veins, always leading toward the mound. At first, they washed away by morning dew. But soon they didn't. They hardened overnight, like clay left to cure in silence. No one saw them form. No one heard movement. Only in the stillest hours did you catch the faintest sound of soil parting. Wet, slow, deliberate, like breath through mud. Later, I read further into the journal. The writer had been a night guard, hired to watch the site. Said he took the job for easy money, unaware that something was watching him from beneath the topsoil. "The lights flicker at 3:14, one entry read. "Every night. Exactly. That's when I hear the dragging." Another passage chilled the blood more than cold ever could. "He stands when the moon is lowest. His face is flat. His hands are roots. His eyes are pits. No whites, no shine. Only shadow." The final entry was shorter. "It's in the house now. The floor is colder in the corners. The dirt man knows I wrote about him." No signature. No address. Only that journal and the smell of dry rot every time I opened it. I burned the first few pages, or tried to. Flames curled the edges, but the ink remained. Even as ash broke the spine and the binding cracked like dry skin, the words glowed faintly. A pulse beneath the char. So I buried it. I walked 2 miles beyond the edge of town, found a hollow where the ground still held its shape, and dug a pit with my bare hands. The soil clung to me, thick and wet, even though it hadn't rained in days. By the time I'd finished, my nails were black and my arms trembled. But I buried it, pressed it down, and packed the earth hard above it. When I got home, the journal was waiting on the kitchen table. Wrapped again. Same cloth. Same smell. After that, I stopped sleeping. Every creak of the floorboard, every hush of wind past the window, it all spoke the same name without syllables. The Dirt Man. I never saw him, not clearly. But there were moments, flashes, when the shadows under the eaves seemed too thick. When the edge of the shed bulged slightly, as if something stood just behind it, waiting to lean in. Once I dropped a flashlight in the garage. It clattered across the concrete and spun on its side, illuminating the far wall. And for 1 second, I saw a shape standing behind the old tiller. No detail, just an outline. Tall, sloped, with long, reaching arms that brushed the ground. And in that second, I didn't hear breathing or shuffling. I heard soil shifting, like something turning in its grave. They found the first body after the third house was finished. Buried beneath the foundation, eyes wide, mouth filled with dirt. No wounds, no trauma, but the coroner wrote a single line in his notes. Lungs compacted with loam. Died mid-inhale. They paused construction after that, briefly. But contracts pushed forward, and investors whispered down the panic. The field was wide, they said. The man must have fallen in, forgotten during the dig. These things happen. But the workers knew. They started leaving tokens at the mound. Coins, small carvings, salt. One man, James Lang, poured a ring of lye around his equipment every night. He was the second to disappear. Only his boots remained, one upright, one sideways, both filled with black sludge. The journal began to change. I didn't write in it, didn't open it. But sometimes I'd find it ajar on my desk, a new entry waiting. Different handwriting each time. Some frantic, others scrawled in childish loops. One was nothing but a list of names, all crossed out except for mine. The last entry I read was only a sentence. The ground is soft behind you. I turned so fast I knocked the chair over. There was nothing there. Nothing but the echo of breath that wasn't mine, rustling through the blinds. I moved, of course. Found a small cabin 5 counties over. No developments, no new roads. Just old timber and older stone. I cut the grass by hand. Never tilled. Never dug. Never once peeled back the skin of the earth. The journal didn't follow me this time. But something else did. The fog here clings thicker. The birds don't sing near the shed. And once, after a night of heavy wind, I found a mound in the yard, 2 feet high, as wide as a man lying down. I haven't opened the door in 3 days. The mound is closer now, just beneath the window. I see nothing through the glass, only the gentle curve of dirt and the faintest impression of arms folded across a chest. Sometimes the wind whistles low, not like before. Now it sounds wet, like a name pulled through mud. They say the dirt man watches from fields and broken earth. But they're wrong. He doesn't just watch. He waits. He learns. And when you write about him, he listens. Behind the walls, the soil is shifting. He's learning to walk upright again. And when he stands, the ground will remember every name written in that journal. Even yours. You heard a sound just now, didn't you? Like something dragging across the floor. You might want to check behind you. Or better yet, don't. The ground is soft where you're standing.